Intel's X58 platform, till this day, will not die. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to build a old school X58 platform for $100, and it's going to be a gaming system. So I got everything I need. So we have a motherboard here with a CPU cooler, RAM, and I got some GPUs here as well. So these systems can be found very cheap on eBay, and you can still use them today. And what we're going to do is we're going to make an old school setup. So the main GPU is going to be a GTX 275. But if you remember back then, there used to be something called physics, so you had a secondary card to do all the physics stuff. And we're going to use a GTX 450 as our physics card. Now, later on, I'm going to go ahead and do a crazy SLI setup. Maybe we'll do double or triple SLI and make things even more interesting. But for now, this is it. And we do have a 256GB SSD. So yeah, the case I chose is a NZXT. This is the H510. This case is $59.99, and it's my cheap case of choice. Anytime someone wants a build that's as cheap as possible, normally these are the cases I use. So let's open everything up, install it, and then let's see how things run. And we're gonna run old games, of course. Alright, as you can see, this is the case. So it has a tempered glass right here, and it's a pretty compact case, honestly. In the back, this is how it looks. And in the front, it's very plain. I do wish there was a 5.25 inch bay, but there's not. And then there's USB-C, USB 3, which we can't use at the moment with our current motherboard, but that's fine, we'll fix that in a bit. But yeah, let's start assembling this thing. Alright, so we got the motherboard in, and here's the problem with these old systems. The RAM used to have these huge heat sinks, and then the other problem is there's a heatsink right here. So this liquid cooler is not going to work like this or like this. So what we're going to need to do is hook it up in the front panel right here. So I'm going to take this off, and then we'll hook the liquid cooler. Alright, so as you can see, what we're going to do is this is going to be in the front, and it's going to be like an intake where it shoots air this way, because there's no room here or here for this radiator. And this is kind of cool because this little bracket can come out and then you can attach it here. So right now I'm just attaching this, and we'll come back when it's done. For the power supply, we went with a 1300 watt EVGA G+. I actually got this for free. Someone gave it to me. So this 1300 watt will allow us to do triple SLI in the future, which I'm hoping we can do. But yeah, this power supply actually fits in this case. That's another reason I like this case, is because it can fit big power supplies like this. So basically, you have all this space here, and there's a lot of wires already connected. I should probably disconnect all these wires, honestly. But basically, this power supply goes in here like this. Basically goes in like this. And there we go. So all these wires, there's a hole up here. So there's a hole right here. I'm going to route all the wires through here, and then we'll connect everything. Alright, so for the SSD, it has two 2.5s here, and then there's two 3.5s down there. You just remove the screw, pop it out, and then you attach it. And then, when you want to put it back in, you just do that. And then tighten it. And that's it. Good to go. So I'm just going to plug in the wires, then we'll organize this. Alright, there we go. So we have everything ready. I've done cable management. So we have our 275 on top and the 450 at the bottom. So let's go ahead and turn this on and see if it works. Alright, so one thing about this case is it's a modern case. So it has a Type-C and a USB 3 in the front. That means the front panel uses the USB 3 header. The motherboard is too old and doesn't have a USB 3, so I ordered this converter. I'll put a link in the description, but basically what this does is it converts the USB 2.0 into a 3.0 header. So what happens is these ports will still work, which is a good thing because right now they're useless. But with this, they will work, but they'll just be at USB 2.0 speeds. But for me, that's fine because I'd rather have ports that work that don't. And what's funny is I actually got a 2-pack from Amazon because that's how they come, and I was like, why do I need 2? It's kind of wasteful. Then I just realized my Super Record 2 desktop actually also has USB 3 ports in the front. So I'm going to install one in there, install one in here. But yeah, this is a pretty cool thing to check out if you have a modern case with untapped USB 3 ports and an old motherboard. Alright, so as you can see, the computer works. Just turn it on, and because there's no DVD drive, I need to use a USB. I actually do have a Windows 7 DVD with a genuine license that I've never used, but since I can't, there we go. Since I can't use it in here, we're just gonna use the USB that I used. Alright, so we already ran into a problem. You can't really mix the 200 series with the 400 series. And I think the 400 series is when Nvidia made the unified driver, meaning that you can mix the 400 with 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 series, whatever. So I went on Reddit and I found someone local who was willing to donate to me their GTX 460 and a GTX 570. Now this card is much faster than the 275, and because they're both based off Fermi architecture, they should work together perfectly fine in the drivers. I'm gonna use this as a physics card, and then this will be the main GPU. But let's see if they work, because they were very dusty, and I did clean them up. But yeah, let's see what happens. Alright, we got the 570 and the 460 installed. So let's see what happens now. Alright, so as you can see here, both GPUs are recognized, and to set the physics for the 460, we're gonna do this, and hit apply, and now it will become the physics processor. So let's go ahead and benchmark this and see how it performs in games now. Alright, so this computer has 6 gigabytes of memory right now, and one thing that a lot of people don't actually know is you can actually use 8 gigabyte sticks on the X58 platform. Not every motherboard is going to support it, but yeah, you can, and I got a bunch of this for free. Now, back then, 2 gigabyte sticks were the thing, and then 4 gigabyte sticks came out later, and people tried it out, and you can do that. But 8 gigabyte sticks didn't come out till much later, and I am gonna install RAM, 48 gigabytes total. But for now, I only have a few sticks, 3, so we're gonna have 30 gigabytes. So let's install this. Alright, as you can see, we have the RAM in there, so we have the 3 new sticks and the 3 old sticks. And as you can see, it was basically plug and play, 30 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, we'll upgrade this to 48 next time. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start installing some games. Now actually, before we install some games, I do want to mention something. I have a i7 980X coming, 2 GTX 590s coming for SLI, and a 780 Ti. So we're going to make this into a series kind of. So for today, we're just going to run it as it is with the 570 and the 920, and then we'll do some overclocking, see the performance, and later on we'll upgrade it and see how far the X58 platform can scale. But for now, we're going to install some games. So Alice Madness Returns, if you have never heard of this game, it's pretty fun. It actually supports physics, which is great. And then some other games, Bioshock Infinite, we'll play this one. Call of Duty, Xenoverse is a more modern game-ish. We'll try to see how this one plays. Grand Theft Auto 5. I also have Naruto here, another game that should run fine. Don't know if Shadow of the Tomb Raider is going to work on a 570, but we'll try it. And then we have some other games we'll try. So I'm going to start these up, and then we'll see how it plays. So the question that's been asked for years, can it run Crysis? So I have Crysis 1, Warhead, and 2, and 3 actually. And we're going to run all of them to see how well this 570 with the 460 physics runs these games. So I'm going to install these. Now the one problem is, these are like discs, and this doesn't have a disk drive. The good news is, this computer right here has a Blu-ray drive still. So I'm going to put these into this computer, drag the files onto a USB, and then install it on here. So that's sort of a fun fact. If you have a computer that has a disk drive, you can just open the disk, drag all the contents onto a USB, and then install it on the computer. So let's do that. Alright, so I'm transferring the Crysis DVD onto a USB. Just to keep in mind that USB is 1.5 gigabytes a second. And as you can see, discs are very slow. This is kind of why we got away from discs. Although this is a DVD, not a Blu-ray. But yeah, we'll wait for this. When's the last time y'all saw this screen? Alright, we got the Core 2 Extreme. So can it run Crysis? Let's try it out. We're getting 2000 FPS right now, but that, you know, is just loading screen. Alright, so the question that everyone wants to ask, can it run Crysis? Well, we're getting about 46 FPS right now. And I gotta say, let's see if I can kill this guy real quick. Oh, I'm not gonna make it. Not gonna make it. Alright, so we're getting about 45 FPS. So to put things into perspective, this game was released in 2007, around when the 8800 GT was out. This is a GTX 570 that was released in, I think, 2010 or 11, and it still cannot run Crysis on very high settings at 1080p. A 580 will fare better, but to get a smooth FPS, you're going to need SLI GPUs, which we will test. I have a 590 coming. But yeah, this game was definitely ahead of its time. Alright, we're in Warhead, and now the settings are Enthusiast. So, we're going to apply Enthusiast settings and see how it runs. This is Crysis Warhead. It was released, I believe, 1 year after Crysis 1. You could think of it as like a 1.5 or something. Alright, so this is Crysis 2, and as you can see, we're getting like 40 FPS, 30 to 40 FPS. Yeah, this game is, I believe, a bit more demanding than the original Crysis. But it looks really nice. This is a game from 2008, and its graphics were pretty ahead of its time back then. It is raining on the scene, so that does probably make it a little bit more demanding. But yeah, 35 FPS on a GTX 570 on enthusiast settings at 1080p. That is crazy. I know y'all probably tired of Crysis by now, but this is Crysis 2 and the last one we're going to test. We're going to run that 1080p on ultra settings and see how many FPS we get. Obviously, we can turn down the settings to like high and get a playable frame rate, but I just want to see what we get. Alright, so this is Crysis 2, and some people gave it some flack because it was different from the other Crysis. They had to release a high resolution texture pack and a DirectX 11 patch. But in my opinion, it's still Crysis, and as you can see, we're getting 30 FPS on the highest settings. Now, I do want to show you guys, because I've been playing everything on high settings, or ultra settings. Now, if we do, like, very high, let's say, and click apply, and just wait for a second, there we go. As you can see, we're getting over 60 FPS now. So you can still play all these games I'm showing y'all. You just have to put the settings down a bit, that's all. And I just want to mention that I'm using the worst keyboard in the world to play this. But yeah, most of these games can still be played. Alright, so this is Alice Madness Returns, and as you can see, we're using our physics GPU for the first time in any game, because this game supports physics. We're getting over 100 FPS, which is very nice. This game is actually interesting because it runs at 30 FPS until you unlock it through the configuration file. So I do recommend checking the configuration file. But as you can see, it's running very smoothly. It does have some hitches every now and then, but that's just the way this game is. For the most part, it runs really well. I recommend using the controller with this game. It's much easier. It has full controller support. But yeah, let's move on to a different game that's a little bit more demanding and see how it runs. Alright, this is Bioshock Infinite, and this game also supports physics apparently. I'm playing at 1080p maxed out, ultra settings. So yeah, it's pretty smooth. We're basically getting 60 FPS. It dips down a little bit sometimes. But yeah, if you haven't played this game, I definitely recommend checking it out as well. As you can see, at 1080p, we're getting 31 FPS in the lowest settings. This isn't too much of an issue because we can just lower the resolution to 720p and rerun this to see what happens. But the problem is those artifacts you guys saw. So I think that happens because it's running an older driver. But let's see if changing the resolution fixes that. Alright, as you can see, even with the lower resolution, we still have those artifacts. So this game isn't really playable, honestly, unless you don't mind that. But the FPS has gone up. We were getting like 20 something in this same scene earlier. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend a game like this on a super old GPU like the 570. Maybe the 7 series. Alright, so this is Xenoverse 2. And I honestly forgot to play this game. It's been so long since I played. But as you can see, we're getting 60 FPS, and I actually have this maxed out at 1080p. And I'm getting yoked by this CPU. I have lots of key I should try to attack. Oh. So this game is running at 60 FPS consistently, which is great. It's fully maxed out. It's a more modern game. They actually still make DLC for this, which is pretty funny actually. And I'm just getting yoked by Goku here. But yeah, there's another fighting game I actually want to try out, so let's try that one too. Alright, so this is Naruto Storm 4. And, oh my goodness, I already got hit by an ultimate. So we're getting 60 FPS in this game. And we're fully maxed out at 1080p, besides MSAA, which honestly isn't really gonna do anything. Yeah, we're not dipping at all. It's still 60 FPS. So, fighting games for the most part should be fine. Oh, that looked like, oh no, it's still good, it's still good. Alright, so this game can also be played maxed out, 60 FPS. I'm actually kind of surprised that this game works so well because on I think a laptop GPU I used, it was doing pretty bad, but this one's not bad. Alright, yeah, FPS isn't dropping at all, that's great. Alright, so another cool use for a system like this is emulation. So if you have old games like this, which I backed up using my desktop over there, we're going to play it on here. You can play them on an old system like this. Even the GTX 570 can play pretty much any GameCube game fully maxed out. And then the other thing is PS2 should be able to play SNES, N64, all those things, no problem. PS3 is probably not going to be good on a system like this if you're looking for that. But yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, if you have old GameCube games, they're very easy to dump. When I can go over that. But yeah, I'm playing it on my computer. It's scaled up. This is a 3 times native scale, so, and it's running very smoothly, as you can see. Honestly, it probably runs better than the GameCube did. But yeah, I really missed this is actually one of my favorite games. But yeah, as you can see, it's running perfectly smooth. We're only using 20% of our GPU, so you can actually also play Wii games, and I'm not entirely sure if Wii U is very smooth on here. I don't have any Wii U games to try with me right now. I do have some Wii games, but yeah, if you want to do emulation, an old system like this is great. You can use Dolphin for GameCube and Wii, or you can use RetroArch as well, which is on Steam, to make it easy to set up and do emulation. Alright, so other uses for a computer like this, you can use it obviously to watch stuff with Media Player Classic Home Cinema, basically any file type, and then obviously you can use it for Office and other things like that. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I'm running Windows 7, and I can easily run Windows 10. There's no reason that I can't run 10, and if I run 10, I can even play even more games. Now, as I mentioned, I kind of want to make this a series, so we'll probably install Windows 10 in the future. I do have my i7-980X here. This is a 6-core, the fastest CPU basically that you can install in the system. So we'll do that next time. But I do want to mention that because I'm running a 570, that's kind of why I installed Windows 7. But I do have a 780 Ti coming as well, and dual 590. So we'll check out SLI, newer stuff, Windows 10. But yeah, you can basically do anything you want. And like I said, this did cost me $70 technically. Although with the 780 and the 590s, the price goes up at the CPU, but we're not factoring any of that in right now. Everything you saw today was on my $70 computer. Now, I'm not saying go out there and buy an X58 platform, but I do want to show y'all how expandable this is, because we can actually also boot from an NVMe drive, which will be in the next video probably. So yeah, I'll show you guys that.